Now, the next document I'm going to share with you is called the lasting power attorney. Unlike the ACP workbook, this is a legal document under the Mental Capacity Act. This is a legal document that allows you to appoint somebody you trust, or a donee, right, to make certain important decisions for you when you have lost mental capacity. When you lose mental capacity and the ability to manage your own affairs, the donee, through this document called lasting power attorney, will be authorized to look after you, will be authorized to make certain important decisions on your behalf in your best interest. And because you have done the lasting power attorney, you can ensure that your quality of life is maintained somewhat during this very difficult period of your life. Because you are already very ill. You have lost mental capacity due to whatever medical condition, right? So because you have done a lasting power attorney, and because you have appointed someone you trust, and because that someone you trust has also stepped forward and agreed to be your donee, you can ensure that this will be the person who will be looking after you, and thereby ensuring that you maintain somewhat of a quality of life. So this is what the LPA is all about. It is a legal document that gives authority, legal authority, to this person called a donee to make important decisions on your behalf. All right. So I'll go into the detail what these decisions are and so on and so forth. Right. Essentially, there are two types of LPA forms: Form 1 and Form 2. So Form 1 is a prescribed form. It is a straightforward form with very few limitations under the law. I did Form 1 9 years ago. Actually, lasting power attorney came into Singapore in 2010, 10 years ago. Before that, we didn't have this document. So I did mine in 2011. Every year, more and more people are doing lasting power attorney. Last year, I think about close to 30,000. Right? If you have not done yours, there's really no reason for you not to do so unless you believe you will not lose mental capacity. You will somehow just pass away in your sleep. If you think that that may not happen, then there is really no reason not to do an LPA. So most of my clients and myself, I did LPA Form 1 because it is affordable. It is a fairly straightforward form, right? But if you want customization, if you have any special instructions, then you have to do Form 2, right? Form 2 is a blank canvas form. Under Form 2, you can grant more specific powers and restrictions to your donee. You can even appoint a trust company to be your donee. For example, if you only allow your donee to withdraw monies from your DBS bank account instead of UOB bank account, you have such special restrictions, then you have to do Form 2. Otherwise, Form 1 is sufficient. And also, under Form 1, you can appoint up to 3 donees: primary donee 1, primary donee 2, and a replacement donee. But for some reason, if you need 5 donees to look after you, because you are difficult to look after, then you have to do Form 2. So remember, Form 1, you can only appoint up to 3 donees. Form 2, unlimited. All right. So that is the difference between Form 1 and Form 2. Regardless whether it is Form 1 or Form 2, they will need to be registered with the Office of Public Guardian. Right? Registration now takes about a month or less. You can actually use your SingPass, log in, and check the registration status. Once your LPA is registered, your LPA becomes effective immediately. The only thing we need to wait is for you to lose mental capacity. And LPA is territorial in nature. You can only use LPA in Singapore for your assets in Singapore. You cannot use LPA overseas. All right? Now, both Singaporeans, foreigners, PRs can do LPA. All right? So, in fact, I am seeing many foreigners and expats doing LPA in Singapore because they work here. They have some assets in Singapore. It makes sense for them to have an LPA done, so that eventually when they return to their home country, and if they were to lose mental capacity, the next of kin, the donee, will be able to come to Singapore, rely on the LPA, and access the assets in Singapore, right? Without an LPA, right? If you do not have an LPA and if you have to lose mental capacity, everything about you is stuck. The only way to unstuck all these things is to get a family member, to get a lawyer like me, to make an application to the court for a court order called the deputyship court order. And I charge minimum $5,000. And the application takes at least 6 months. And there is no guarantee that your family member can get the court order. Now, this court order is authorized the next of kin, called a deputy, to do the same thing as the LPA, right? But if you have an LPA done, the family does not need to go through any court application. So it saves time and it saves money and hassle. So there is really no reason not to do an LPA form. All right. So what to consider when making an LPA? Of course, think carefully who to appoint as your donee and replacement donee. I appointed my spouse. Most of my clients would appoint their spouse, their children, or their parents, right? Never outsider. And of course, your donee must be at least 21 years old, not a bankrupt, and most importantly, someone who loves you, right? These are the primary considerations when deciding who to appoint as your donee when making an LPA. Now, what kind of powers can you grant to your donee under your LPA form? Basically, two categories of decisions: personal welfare, property, and affairs. Personal welfare decisions include where you stay, who you stay with, what you eat, what you wear, which hospital you go to, what medical treatment you receive. Very wide-ranging personal welfare decisions. Your donee will have the full power to decide. Second category of matters, decisions: property and affairs. Property and assets, for example, selling, renting out your property, your HDB flat, depositing, withdrawing money from your bank accounts, claiming insurance money, claim CPF, pay taxes, run your businesses. So as you can see, your donee has wide-ranging powers under the LPA, right, to decide for you, to make all these decisions in your best interest, right? When the moment you lose mental capacity, all your donee needs to do is to take the LPA form, the medical report certifying that they've lost mental capacity, walk into the bank and withdraw the monies from your bank account, no question asked. All your donee needs to do is to sign the contract, sell your HDB, no question asked, because this is how powerful your LPA is. But it is a legal document. All right. So, but having said that, there are certain decisions that your donee has no power to make for you. Right? There are certain restrictions. For example, your donee cannot make a decision on your behalf if he or she knows or has reasonable grounds to believe that you do not have capacity to make that decision any longer. So the moment you regain from your loss of mental capacity, your donee's power stops immediately. You make your own decision. Right? This is to safeguard your interest. So the moment you can make your own decision, your donee's powers will stop. All right. There are also other specific restrictions. For example, your donee cannot sign your will for you. Your donee cannot make or revoke your insurance or CPF nominations, cannot change your religion, cannot change your sex from male to female, right? Cannot marry or divorce you. So you do not have to worry that, when you regain mental capacity, you realize that, you have been divorced or something like that, or from man become woman. These are the things that the donee has no power to do for you under the lasting power. There is also one decision that your donee cannot make for you, which is life and death. Life and death. Your donee has no power to make life and death decisions on your behalf. In Singapore, euthanasia is not permitted. Euthanasia, all right? Unlike in Switzerland, in Netherlands, and in some states in the US, when euthanasia is legal, in Singapore, it is illegal. But what is legal is this document called Advanced Medical Directive, right? Which is for the withdrawal of life-sustaining treatment to prolong your life artificially. That is legal, all right? But before I go into that, who should make an LPA? Basically everyone, right? As long as you're above 21 years old, you can make an LPA. But LPA is not for somebody very old. Like young people can suffer a stroke, so on and so forth. PR foreigners with assets in Singapore, such as businesses, properties, bank accounts, shares, you can make an LPA, right? So everybody in this webinar should have an LPA.